Hello and good morning. Joe Justice here, coming to you live on December 2nd, 2022. It is Friday, and I am pretty excited about the weekend. We've just got 2 more weeks until Christmas now. Well, a lot more like 3 weeks, but that whole week before Christmas is basically Christmas, right? That's how it works, isn't it? So we've just got a few more weeks to get through, and then we'll be ready to relax a little bit and start really falling to the holidays. Really excited about that. Hope everybody's having a great week. I hope everybody's able to hit their goals. Make sure that you record your goals. As you're going through your own fitness journey, be sure to write everything down. Write down your food. Write down your exercise. Keep a little journal. You can keep it as detailed or as simple as you like, but if it doesn't get measured, it doesn't get managed. So be sure to kind of at least keep an idea. And I'll tell you what, if you simply write down everything that you eat for a month, you'll start to notice things that you don't really think about. And it also, by the way, writing things down that you eat, keeping a food journal, also helps add a little bit of a selection bias to your food preferences, because what you'll do is you'll say to yourself, hey, I don't really want to write that piece of cake down, so I won't eat it. So it's a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Just by writing your food down, you will actually eat better and lose weight and be better off for it. So today I just wanted to talk a little bit about yoga. Yoga is a really cool practice that I was first introduced to way back in, the early 2000s when P90X came out. I got it just like everybody else did back in those days. P90X was a phenomenon that came out in the early 2000s. Tony Horton, Beachbody, and that was a really cool time. That was when infomercials were big and late night TV was huge, and everybody enjoyed that kind of stuff. And that was my first experience ever with yoga, outside of just watching it like in movies or hearing about it on TV or something like that. Now, I am definitely not a yoga expert. I don't know that much about it. I've read a little bit. I've done some different classes here and there, but I'm definitely not an expert on the subject. But I can tell you that yoga is absolutely one of my favorite forms of exercise when it comes to recovery. Now, yoga, people do yoga as a day-to-day activity. I think that that's cool. I think that that can be effective if that's, in line with your goals. It definitely helps with flexibility, no doubt about that. It definitely helps with anti-aging, no doubt about that. It definitely helps with your joints, no doubt about that. I'm sure it does all of the other things along the lines of increasing your mobility, increasing your immune system, increasing your response time, your overall health, your blood pressure, all that kind of stuff. Any form of exercise that's at least a little bit strenuous will do that for you. So I have absolutely no doubt that a daily yoga practice would help you out in that regard, no doubt in my mind. But I don't typically do a daily yoga practice. What I tend to do is I will do yoga once a week, or I'll do a recovery week. So this week I've been doing the last, I've done 2 rounds of an 8-week program. So last week I finished that second round, and my joints are starting to get a little stiff and starting to get a little sore. So I thought, well, it's time to do a little bit of yoga. So this whole week has been a recovery week, and probably part of next week as I get ready to jump into a new program that'll be a little bit more strenuous. Now, what is yoga? So first of all, what we think about as yoga is what we call hatha yoga. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right. I really hate to say this kind of stuff because, there's like the terms that people use with yoga and the experienced instructors, and they know how to say everything, but then I always feel like I'm gonna embarrass myself whenever I start to say things. Like, I know namaste. Namaste means thank you, hello, goodbye. That kind of, it's like a greeting. So I know namaste. And then there's all the other terms that they use, and all of the poses have different names that I just can't like. I just feel like if I say them out loud, I'm just gonna make a fool out of myself. So I try not to say them, or I use the English version of them. So Hatha yoga is the yoga that we're all familiar with. That's the one where you get into what looks like strange kind of pretzel positions, and you hold them for a period of time. Now, there's basically two big elements to yoga when it comes to that, when we're talking about that. Now, there's also yoga as it exists in a religious practice. Obviously, it's associated with Hindu practices, and it has a strong religious element. The ascetics that lived in Hindu society, they would practice yoga. It was a regular part of that system. Now, I don't do it in any kind of religious way. I do the Hatha yoga, which is more along the lines of just physical development. That was kind of popularized in America in the early 1920s, along the same times as Pilates, which was created by Dr. Pilates. Actually, there's actually a guy that created all that stuff. So those were kind of came into American consciousness around the same time, and I like yoga a lot better than Pilates, but that's just me. If you like Pilates, good for you. So yoga is basically two things. It's basically postures and breath work. So the idea is you want to get into a posture and you want to hold it for a period of time, usually for a handful of breaths, and you want to focus on your breathing. It's kind of a moving meditation is the way I like to think about it. You want to achieve a mindless state or a mindful state. It's kind of weird because like if you achieve true mindfulness, then it's kind of mindless at the same time, which is kind of one of those weird things, but it's a meditative state. So like if you're in a meditative state, you don't even realize time passing. You get into that zone and like it's just like time just passes and just flows away. And that's what you want to get into. It's a real meditative type of exercise that's really great. And what you want to do is focus on your breathing, and you want to breathe from your diaphragm. And you can actually do that really, really easily. So I'm going to show you a really easy breathing technique that you can use to tell whether you're breathing from your diaphragm or not. As much as possible, you want to breathe from your diaphragm if you're doing any kind of breath exercises. So you put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. Take a deep breath. Now, if your top hand, if it's going up, then you're breathing from your chest. Okay, you don't want to do that. That's not from your diaphragm. Now, if you breathe in, you'll feel your bottom hand come out. That's breathing from your diaphragm. So, watch this. Okay, that's diaphragm breathing as opposed to breathing from your chest. See, that's your rib cage expanding. You don't want your rib cage to expand. You want your belly to expand. So try that. Try that for yourself, and you'll feel the difference. You'll feel it right away. So what you want to try to do when you're breathing, when you're doing your yoga postures, is you want to try to breathe from your diaphragm, and you want to expand your lungs completely by breathing this way. Your belly should be going out, okay? Your chest shouldn't be going up. Your shoulders should be going up. Like that. That's not how you want to breathe. You want to breathe from your belly, and your belly's going to be going out. So give that a try. Now, there's all kinds of different postures. There's balanced postures. There's stretching postures. The ones that I think the kind of the sun salutations, the basic one that's the most effective that you can do. That gets you really, really good exercise. And that'll get you sweating, and that's basically where you do a push-up. You go into up dog, which you've probably seen. If you haven't seen it, you can just Google these. And then you do another push-up, and you go into down dog. And then you bring your feet together, you go into a flat back, and then you stretch back up, and then that's the reset. And then you do the whole thing again. One of these days, I'm going to do a full yoga class. I'll post a full yoga class on here, or demonstration, so that you kind of see the basics. But that's kind of the basic posture, and then you add in other postures, like you can add in crow, you can add in warrior 1, warrior 2, reverse warrior, triangle pose, all of these different poses as you're going. That's my favorite way of doing yoga, that kind of flow state. Some people call that power yoga. There's different, like I say, there's different terms for all this stuff. Don't I don't think that there is one yoga. I don't think there's a right yoga, but like I say, I'm just a guy from West Virginia. I don't have any kind of tradition. I didn't go to India. I haven't grown up, in that tradition, so I would not argue with a native on that type of thing. I would never argue with what yoga is or isn't, but for me, yoga is the kind of flowing breath work and postures. You kind of flow from one posture to another, focusing on your breath and then holding postures for a few breaths and then going to the next posture in that flowing state. And I think that's one of the best forms of exercise you can do for recovery. I love it. I do it at least once a week, and I will continue to do it. Give it a try if you haven't tried it yet. Just you can find them on YouTube. Just find a basic yoga class. You can find them, on just Google a couple of, a sun salutation. Do that 4 or 5 times in the morning. You'll feel great. You will, and you can thank me later. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope that you have a great weekend, and I will see you all on Monday.